Dear students, now we are going to study the amount of expenses to be debited to income and expenditure account. For that also we make a statement, and the first item is expenses paid during the year. The amount of that particular expenses paid during the year is taken from receipts and payments account, that is from the payment side of receipts and payments account. That amount is written as the first item, and there are 4 more items to be adjusted. And the first item, opening date of expenses paid in advance. Opening date of expenses outstanding, expenses paid in advance on opening date means expenses paid during the previous year, but that does not belong to that particular year, but belongs to this year. Therefore, the amount paid in advance during the previous year might have deducted. The amount so deducted is added to. And the next is outstanding expenses during the current year. That is closing date outstanding expenses. The expenses due but not paid during the current year on the closing date. That amount should also be added to. And the next 2 items to be deducted is outstanding expenses on the opening date. Opening date outstanding expenses might have paid during the current year. Even though it is paid during the current year, that amount does not belong to the current year. Therefore, that amount should be deducted. And the last item to be deducted is closing date balance of expenses paid in advance. Closing date balance of expenses paid in advance means expenses paid during the year, but the amount so paid does not belong to current year but belongs to the next financial year. That amount should also be deducted, and the resultant figure will be the amount of expenses to be debited to income and expenditure account. First of all, the item to be written is expenses paid during the current year, which is taken from the payment side of receipts and payments account. Then we add 2 items, that is opening date balance of paid in expenses paid in advance. Then the closing date balance of expenses outstanding, and to that figure we deduct two more figures, that is opening date balance of expenses outstanding, and we deduct 1 more item, that is closing date balance of expenses paid in advance. After adjusting these 4 figures, we get the amount to be debited to income and expenditure account during the current financial year.